Hi, welcome to the Spencer Lodge podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Lodge, and today we had the great fortune of spending a bit of time and interviewing the fantastic multi-billionaire property developer, Farhad Azizi. What a fantastic story he has to tell. Anyway, cue the music. So Farhad Azizi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So let's understand a little bit about you for the benefit of the audience. You are the son of a really successful man. You've now gone to work under the CEO of Azizi Group. You're a billionaire family. You're super successful. You've had a silver spoon in your mouth all your life. Everything's been really easy for you. And that's your journey, right?
Not really. but I mean, my father is very successful, touch wood, and he has many lines of businesses, but the family is very, very humble. So is my dad. And so I wouldn't go as far as the silver spoon and all that, but yeah, we work with him, myself and my brothers, and also my uncle. So we work as a close family, and we're into construction, real estate, oil and gas, and banking.
Oh wow, many things.
Yeah, three lines of businesses. Although we are in trading as well, but that's we're wrapping that up. But the main three core businesses are banking, real estate.
Oh God, go on, carry on.
And oil and gas business. So.
And do you as again, for the benefit of everyone listening, are you somebody that's learned all of these different businesses from your dad, or have you just gone into one of those verticals?
No, I did. I started actually with banking in 2007 when I came back from the States. So I came from the States immediately into dad's businesses. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I'm very happy that I did is I started from basics. Mm-hmm. So I started with the bank as a teller.
Oh, right at the bottom.
Like right at the bottom. The teller. Before the teller, there was another post called the CSR. Like customer service representative, and I had to open bank accounts for clients, and I did that for some time. Actually, I would be with them for all activities, whether it was a training or this and that. So then the teller, and then got promoted with doing the right things. Like, so you didn't get free promotions or anything. But I started with the banking, mm-hmm. And then I found the banking to be good, but a bit too repetitive, a bit boring. So then I moved into the oil and gas a bit, mm-hmm. But then I spend most of my time in real estate.
That's where the lion's share has been.
Yeah, real estate.
But do you think, again, you're from Afghanistan originally?
Yes.
Okay. Dad was born in Afghanistan?
Yes.
Were you born in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I was born in Kabul.
Okay, and how old were you when you left Kabul and moved overseas?
I was 5 years old.
And where did you go?
To Uzbekistan.
So really? You went to Tashkent at 5?
Yes.
And you lived there for a couple of years?
Couple of years. My dad's business started there in Uzbekistan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he had a government job in Afghanistan. He was a prosecutor. His background is law. He studied law. He's a lawyer, and he was working for the government as a prosecutor. And when things started to get shaky with civil war and other things in Afghanistan, he left to do his own thing because it was not safe to be living in Afghanistan.
And was Uzbekistan a country that anybody or most people went to initially because it was across the border? It was the first place to go?
It's not.
No reason for
Uzbekistan is across the border. Tajikistan, Pakistan, Iran. Oh, yeah. So Afghanistan shares many borders. So many people actually went to Iran and Pakistan, but we as family went to Uzbekistan because my dad had better contacts there. So we moved to Tashkent, and he literally had he had nothing with him, and he didn't speak the language. His diploma wouldn't be accepted for a job, for example. Mm-hmm. So he was basically cornered, and by then he already had 6 kids. We're 7 now, but he had a family to feed. He just lost his job, lost his country. There's civil war there, and he's in a totally new country where he's nobody basically. And to start life from that is very difficult. So one of the things that he always says is that humans are full of supernatural powers. And he says, when I was very cornered, when I felt so cornered and I was thinking of my family, my kids, and I had to do something, that's when ideas come up. That's when you start to think of things out of the box, and that's when you start to do brilliant things. So he says, sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone to be really, getting that eureka moment, as they call it. Yeah,
it's almost like we say in English, if you put me in a corner, there's two ways I'm going to react. I'm either going to come out fighting, okay, or I'm going to keel over and die.
Exactly.
And they're your two options in life if you get put into that corner. But also when people are down and they're low, it's sometimes the greatest place to climb from, isn't it?
Exactly. So what he did is he started a trading business.
Trading what?
Trading of fabric.
Okay.
From like Afghanistan and India to Uzbekistan and to Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan and Tajikistan. So all those... and he was just doing trading, and
so
then he
importing stuff in,
importing
selling it
and
out.
selling it, because the whole import business and export business was something new at those days, and there was a lot of geopolitical tension everywhere, right? So there was the USSR going down, and things were changing a lot. So he had the hard work he had to do, but also he had to be that time. It was a lot of luck, he says, as well. So. That's how he started the business, basically, and we lived there for a couple of years. Then we moved to Dubai. In 1996, we moved to Dubai.
How old were you then?
Oh, by then I was. I don't recall exactly, but I should have been 9, I guess.
Okay, so you went into Dubai. Dad carried on with his trading business?
No, his business had changed by then. He was trading, but he had changed to other businesses, but it was all within trading. So he got into food business. He got into electronics business. He got into so many other types of businesses, but they were all within trading. So he wasn't really into real estate or banking.
He was a middleman.
Yeah, he was trading, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is your dad one of these guys that seizes opportunity when it comes his way?
Oh yeah. He's my dad, one of the things he has, which we're very proud of. He has a lot of courage, and he's very. He's a risk taker, but very calculated risk taker, obviously. But he has the courage. He's not very fearful, and I think it's because of what he went through. He lost family members back home in Afghanistan. His brothers passed away. When you lose so much, then you really you sort of get a very thick skin, and he's.
But it gives you strength, doesn't it?
It gives him a lot of strength.
Yeah.
And like there are things I would be too careful with, and I wouldn't take the risk. But he'd be like, "Come on, no risk, no fun." And
and a lot of that probably you as his son, because you didn't go through that yourself or live it yourself, like he lost the brothers.
Yeah, I was
stuff.
just observing.
Yeah.
So I was observing. I didn't go through it, but I remember observing all that.
It's almost like when we don't want our kids or our friends to make mistakes, and so we advise them not to make them. But sometimes they just need to make the mistake to learn.
Exactly.
And so you can't always learn from someone else's experiences, although,
So he went through the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw him going through that. I was lucky to do the observation, at least. Some of my other siblings who are younger, they saw the much better parts of life when they grew up here in Dubai, went to school here, and they went to the universities and lived a very good life. But I was fortunate to learn a lot of things from my dad and see how his life unfolded and how things went and what from point A to B, and how difficult it was to get from place to place. It takes a lot of hard work.
I talked to quite a lot of entrepreneurs, and when you think about your dad's story, it's similar in many ways because of a reaction to some form of pain.
Exactly.
And so then it makes you almost bolder, and those big decisions don't seem like big decisions because of what you've experienced before. How when you think about these three verticals: oil and gas, real estate, and banking. They're behemoths on their own, aren't they? They're monsters on their own in terms of industries. And I'm sure your dad didn't, do windows and doors and, fit kitchens and stuff. I'm sure your dad, real estate, was building houses, buying land and developing and stuff. Banking, I'm sure, it incorporates so many different areas within banking. Did he just buy a bank when he had enough money, or did he set a bank up?
No, he set a bank up.
Where?
In Afghanistan. Now
he set a bank up in Afghanistan from scratch?
Yeah. He has 2 banks now. In the largest bank, Azizi Bank, belongs to him. Azizi
And that's the
Bank.
biggest bank in Afghanistan?
Yes, it's the largest bank there, and also Afghanistan Islamic Bank is the fourth largest bank in Afghanistan. So he actually didn't go back home for many years, more than 16, 17 years, because he wasn't safe. And when the Taliban were taken out in 2001, that's when he first time went back, and he saw a huge change. The country was destroyed, people have changed. There was a lot of things had gone backwards. Like the country was doing really well before all the civil war and problems. So when he had seen all that, and when he went back, he was basically surprised. And one of the things he wanted to do is start up his business there, create jobs, do something different, get into construction, get into the banking, because banking is the backbone of economy. So he got into the oil and gas. He saw what's needed. There was a big need for energy products. So he got gas from the neighboring countries. He got natural gas for people to use, and petroleum products. So he built petrol stations, for example. He was the first company to build storage facilities within the capital, Kabul. He didn't have storage facilities for LPG or petroleum products, because every city needs its storage facilities, and didn't exist. So he built it on the borders and also in the capital. And then in 2006 is when he opened the bank. And when the bank was opened, it was the 14th bank to be opened, and so he was the smallest bank. But he either gets into the roots of a business or he doesn't touch it. So he worked very hard on that, and eventually it has come to a point where it's the largest bank, and he acquired some other banks also within the country. So the Afghanistan Islamic Bank was one of the banks that was another bank. He took it, rebranded, and is the first and the only Islamic bank in Afghanistan.
Now, some people will look at Afghanistan and obviously attach all of the conflict and war and everything that's gone on, not just with the Western world, but with Russia many years before, all that history of battles in Afghanistan, and look at it quite negatively. And others will look at it and say, that's a land of opportunity. There's stuff that can be done there that can be great for the country, because the infrastructure either has been there and taken away, doesn't exist at all. Is your dad, because it's his homeland, wanted to find opportunity there, or is your dad because he's just a born?
He's emotionally attached to it, right? So being from there, being from there, he's very emotionally attached to it, and his businesses are still running in the trading business in those other countries, but his focus went to Afghanistan because he really felt he could do something. However, when it comes to Afghanistan being a land of opportunities, it's not really business-wise as great, because the basic infrastructure doesn't exist. So he did well at times, but then at times he lost a lot of money there as well in Afghanistan. But he didn't pull out, and he wants to do more. Right now, I would say it's not the best time to do business. When the U.S. decided to pull out some of their troops in 2014, things have been becoming a bit slow business-wise in the banking, in construction. But one of the things I personally learned a lot from Afghanistan, and also my dad as well, is doing anything there is so difficult that you really learn to the roots, to the base of how it's done. Like when we have done a lot of construction, way more development back home than here. And
really?
in Afghanistan, I was running the real estate part. One of the things that you do there, it's so different. You don't have skilled engineers, so you don't have cranes, you don't have piling machines, you don't have proper concrete batching plants, you don't have materials, you don't even have steel. So steel has to be imported. The basic materials have to be imported. So when you do construction in Afghanistan or in Syria or in Iraq or in Libya, you really do construction. So like here, things are so much easier.
See, that's really an interesting thing to think about how when you build businesses in really tough environments, how then when you come to somewhere like here, it's just like, this is a walk in the park.
I used to spend a weekend there and a week here. And this place, people would come to me for their problems, and I would. And I didn't want to insult them, but I would feel so.
You don't have problems.
I felt they were so petty because those problems were like first world problems. Like, these are not problems. I have seen people taking a brick or 10 of them, walking all the way to the 15th floor to do the block work, going up the stairs. A big
flight of stairs,
and then there's like the streets get blocked because of security reasons. All of a sudden, the whole construction has to stop. All the laborers have to come down, and then you're not allowed to work at night. All kind of security checks suddenly happen, and then you have to do so many checks and controls. Like the concrete that has to be put in a high-rise building is different than a concrete put in a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And there is a PSI test, the pressure test.
Yeah.
So if I don't check it myself in a country where there isn't proper rules and systems, I could be at the risk of putting the wrong concrete in a high-rise in a city which is at high risk of earthquakes. Like Kabul lies on
a fault line.
Yes, on a fault line. So those, before any concrete would be poured, we would take a sample, take it to our own lab, check it to see if it has the right pressure. Mm-hmm. If there were times where it was the wrong pressure, but the concrete was poured, so then we had to demolish the whole thing and take it out, and you do all that without cranes again. like the simplest thing we take for granted.
Yeah.
You don't have those things back. It's like you're working in a war zone. So, we build buildings here and they're connected to the sewage system. But there's no sewage system. We build buildings here, they're connected to electricity and water, and the whole thing is hooked up. And we don't know who did the infrastructure, but it's there and we're happy for it. But no, that's not the case in Kabul. We build a lot of high-rise buildings, and those high-rises have their own sewage treatment plant brought specifically from America, because they're not made everywhere, and these are biologically treatments done for all the sewage, and the water gets reused for the water for the toilet flush and all that. So these systems, you learn so much from that. You see all that, and then you realize that the experience that you can gain in 1 year there is like equivalent to 5 years here.
It's like a great school, isn't it?
I've done construction in Germany, for example. In Frankfurt,
with your eyes closed in your sleep.
So in Frankfurt, it's even easier. In Frankfurt, I have a construction site running. I have not been to it for 6 months now, and I don't need to go, because every time I go to the construction site, I want to be like picking on the problems. But actually, I go and I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed that I actually have nothing. I have no comments. Like in Dubai, I would go. I'd be like, oh no, that's plastic is not straight, or this is not good. I don't like that. The tile has been put wrong. But in Germany, it's so different. Basically I compare Afghanistan, the UAE, Dubai, and Germany, and these three places are so different. And I'm home to all three cities. I'm to Kabul, Frankfurt, and Dubai. So when I travel, I just travel with my laptop. I have my clothing there, or even my toothbrush. Mm-hmm. So the way work is done, or the way construction is done, or the way any business is run, they are at very extremes. And I've been fortunate to see those extreme. And sometimes when I go to different places, I have to like switch real quick, because when I'm in Frankfurt, I have to work different. I cannot be in my Afghan mood, because in the Afghan mood you have to be a bit more firm on things. Mm-hmm. Otherwise things don't move. A lot of people don't have work experience, so you got to be demanding and all that. And Dubai is somewhere in the middle, while when Frankfurt, it's a very professional environment. You cannot be. You have to be very careful with the wording, politically correct, and you have to be very contractually right. And
is being a business person in building businesses in Afghanistan riddled with corruption?
In Afghanistan, that's a big problem. But the problem is when you feed those people who are corrupt, it never ends. So you have to either put a stop or get into this, be in it for the long term. So, our business was fortunate enough that we had the support from top level, where they said, where we could say, no, I don't want to be part of this. Either we do it our way, or I'm not going to participate, because it's a never ending thing. So when we were doing our construction, we had to go and get the permissions from the president himself. Like, we knew that it's going to be so bureaucratic, so complicated, and such a lack of systems, and we wanted to do good. We had land there, and to develop those buildings and those properties, which are now developed, we had to go to the president. President Karzai was running the country then, and we said, okay, these are the designs. Our team from Dubai designed the whole thing. They went and did the presentation. So our engineering team from here, and the president was very impressed. He said, "This is what I want in the city to be built. We want buildings like this." Now today those buildings are built, but he had to approve it. Now going every time to the president for something is not possible, but to avoid all those corrupt people and to skip over them, you have to sometimes go the extreme path.
Go to the top.
Yes.
Avoid that headache. Yeah, no, it makes absolute sense. I speak about corruption, but I grew up in Nigeria.
Okay.
So I know what a corrupt country is, and we talk openly about corrupt countries, but I also believe very strongly that every country is corrupt.
That's the problem. I mean,
it exists everywhere. It's just better disguised in Western world than it is in the developing world.
Exactly. I mean, there has to be some controls. It cannot be an acceptable act, because we have had many business opportunities open up for us in places where corruption is acceptable. I don't want to name the countries, but we knew that, okay, if the next person in line could pay a bit more, and our business could be stopped, our construction site could be seized and all that. So those places are very risky. I would rather do business in places where there is some controls, there is some rules in place, and where it's considered, the society considered it as a very shameful act and something that's not acceptable. If those principles don't exist, then a lot of businessmen or anybody would shy away from those countries. Like doing business in Afghanistan is very difficult, even though we are from there. Like I'm no longer. I'm definitely attached to Afghanistan, but I've chose to become a German citizen. My wife is from there, so my in-laws live there, and traveling with the Afghan passport was extremely difficult. But I feel very home in Germany, so I actually.
Do you?
I had the option, and I chose to become a German citizen.
As opposed to what?
As to being an Afghan citizen. So.
Oh, okay. So not choosing other nationalities.
No. I mean other nationalities. Of course, I lived in the States for 7 years, so I had the option of becoming a U.S. citizen or a German citizen, or I could have. There's other nationalities like Cyprus and all that you could invest.
Yeah, you can.
But having an Afghan passport is not about travel. It's you get discriminated right away. So I'm the exact same person. I go to certain banks, I don't want to name them, and they've said we don't open bank accounts for Afghans. Now I go as a German, and they're like, "You're welcome, sir, of course," but I'm the exact same person.
Yeah.
So that's pure discrimination. Now I don't criticize those organizations, but maybe because they have restrictions or whatever. But I would imagine it's not only for Afghans. There's many.
That actually comes from. My big belief is it comes from propaganda.
Yeah,
a lot. It's almost like the stock market and sentiment. If everyone's saying that the stock market's going down, then invariably the stock market goes down, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And if everyone is optimistic, then invariably it starts to perform better. And proof of that is the end of the UK financial year is the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
And you always see, because stockbrokers get their bonoses then, you always see the first quarter being really strong in the UK.
Yes.
And in the US, the last quarter in Q4 because they get their bonuses.
It's all sentiment, right?
So I think a lot of what people are fed, and and again, people believe what they're fed. The news in every country. If you watch Russia Today, CNBC, CNN, and BBC, you watch the same news article across each of those channels. There's a different slant on it, isn't there?
So I went to Seychelles on my honeymoon, right? My wife German, I'm Afghan, and it says no visa required for Afghans, visa on arrival. So she walks in, and the immigration officer looks at me. He's like, "Oh my God. Why are you here? When are you going back? Where are you staying? How did you get here? Why did you get here?" And the poor guy was so frustrated. But I'm the same person now, it's a breathe. But it's the sentiments, as you said. I don't blame anything. It's just that it's.
There's no positive news that comes out of Afghanistan on the news.
No, I mean, as an Afghan, I have probably learned a lot of things from that country when I went back after I did my education. I went back construction-wise, banking-wise, trading-wise. I mean, the things that you do there are so So still at the basic. So you have to take it from point A to Z yourself.
Yeah.
The basics are not done. So for me, it's been a great learning experience. But otherwise, news-wise, yeah, there's no positive news coming out of the place.
So let's talk about America. You studied in, because we spoke about this the other day, which I thought was really cool. So you studied in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
And for most people going to study in the States, you're on the East Coast, the West Coast. You might be in Denver, or Texas, but you don't hear of people that say, "Yeah, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma."
I went to high school here in Dubai, at Al Mawaqib School, and there was a attendee from America from these universities. The representatives would come, and the University of Tulsa was there, and Purdue and some other universities. So there were like 20 different universities. So I took their applications, and the university looks beautiful, and it was beautiful. So I applied, and I got accepted right away, and then I went for it. I had the option of Purdue and Tulsa, and Purdue is in Indiana. Mm-hmm. So I didn't go with Purdue because it was too big. I felt I would get lost among the students. There's 33,000 students at that time, and Tulsa was more 4,500 students. So I chose Tulsa. To me, it was America. It was my first time visiting America. So for me, it was the country. It was not whether it's Oklahoma or Texas or Boston. America, yeah. I didn't differentiate. So I got in and I went to Tulsa. And
what was it like being an Afghani student?
It was
in Oklahoma. What was it like from? Obviously, you studied international business, I think you said. Yes. But being a kid from a country that Americans don't understand, or if they do, their understanding of it isn't probably the best understanding.
I was the first Afghan student in the University of Tulsa.
Okay, right.
So there were 92 countries that had nationalities that had attended, and I made it 93. So on the orientation day, freshman orientation day, all the students were called in, and I was called up to the stage, and it said, "First Afghan student, thanks for coming here. Now we have 93 nationalities that have gone to school here." So they recognized my face, and I was. I was told, they said, from Afghanistan and all that. And then after 2 months, 9/11 happened. So
what happened for you?
So what happened is I was a bit scared. I was afraid because I was the only Afghan student, and everybody knows me now. And 9/11 has happened, and the Saudis and the UAE had called back their students. So there were a lot of students doing petroleum engineering from Saudi Arabia and from the UAE. So they asked for their students to come back for 6 months or a year. And my parents gave me the option whether I want to stay or leave. And I spoke to the university. They were like, it's up to you. So, but I stayed. And having an Afghan passport, being an Afghan there, I chose not to come back for a long time because I was afraid I wouldn't get another visa. The student visas and all that. So I stayed the whole 4 years to do my bachelor's degree, and it was a very. That's why I'm so attached to Tulsa, because I had this fear. I thought I would be treated bad or I would be discriminated, or one thing or another. But just the opposite happened. The exact opposite. People were so nice to me, including my classmates, my professors, the whole university. They said, "We know you're not part of this." I said, "I know, thank you." But to give me that comfort that they really were welcoming me, I would be in their homes in Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and with their families. So I felt really home there. And I in Thanksgiving, in the month of November, very dark and rainy, the whole university is completely empty. To make sure I didn't have that
being alone,
the professors or my other friends or others, Americans, Oklahomans, would invite me to their home and we would do a Thanksgiving dinner together. so I actually felt very, very home, and I've traveled throughout the states, and I feel the most home in those states around it, like where it was Texas or Missouri or Kansas or Chicago and those places. So
what do you think of Donald Trump?
I personally don't like some of the things he says, but I think he maybe is not very good in expressing what he wants. I think his intention maybe not as bad, but the way he expresses them gotta be, you know, sugar coated a bit.
Yeah.
And because for somebody to have such a position, you know, where everybody looks up to the president of the United States, he should be talking more like Obama, very careful with his choice of words and all that, and be.
Do you not just think though that a lot of Americans, like the UK, well, lots of countries, even because Spain recently too, do you not think that there was a point where everyone just got sick of politicians?
Maybe that's the thing, you know. That's the thing.
Not necessarily the government themselves, but it's just like politicians going around in circles, telling lies.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, but you know, I personally think, right, the politicians have a very difficult job. They have to please everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a country like the U.S. or any country, whether it's the U.K. or countries where there's a big population and there's a big mix, so the politicians have to be careful with whatever they do. So sometimes maybe they are sort of, their job obliges them to lie a bit, or I don't want to say the word lie, but they have to be nice to everybody,
mm-hmm.
and they have to be careful with their wording and all that, because you know, if you say the wrong thing, then you're going to offend
mm-hmm.
a big portion of your population. Why do that? What's the point? So politicians, I think they have to be very diplomatic.
They have to be all things to everyone.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But they have to have their agenda, which doesn't have to be open to public. They have to do their thing, but they have to be careful with their word, of the selection of their word. I mean, that's how a perfect politician. That's why they're called politicians. I don't know. They have to be diplomatic, right?
Yeah, diplomacy. Okay, I don't want to sit talking about politics with you all day, because we can go down a rabbit hole with that. Azizi, the property development company that you run, has come under some negative press in recent time.
Yes.
What did you do wrong?
Well, we didn't do much wrong, but what we have is, you know, I told you my dad's story.
Mm-hmm.
So he is very determined. He's very, how do I say, a lot of entrepreneurs are like that.
Mm-hmm.
They are very persistent.
Dogged.
They're persistent on their ideas, right? So whether it's his brother or his son or his sister or his daughter or whoever, right? They see them as like, you know, they have to prove that, okay, no, I could convince you that this is right? So what happens is there's a lot of this thing between me and my dad where we're like, I am firm on my ideas, he's firm on his ideas. So then it becomes a playground for, okay, should we do this way or should we do that way? Should we do this, should we do that way? So then it leads to a point where it's sometimes good for the company because it allows for things to be thought out of the box. You know, it's not the hurdle mentality. So when my dad goes their direction, we all go through that. And my brother, myself, we think very Western. My dad thinks very traditional.
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks the traditional way was always worked for him, and we think no. You know, those ways, some things are good. Let's do it. You know, the trust, the handshake, all those things are very
mm-hmm.
good. But now you have to be doing things differently. So sometimes we have those. I don't want to say clashes, but sometimes we have our differences, and that has been good and bad. But
that's natural as well.
It's
natural with two generations.
It's very natural.
Yeah.
But that what happened is a year and a half ago, I basically told my dad, okay, it's your way, you do it, I'll just watch, right? Or you'll do it my way, and totally my way or totally your way. So we've been going through this for like many years, but like when I left the business to do my own thing. I was away for some time. I was in Dubai. I was helping him with business, but I was away for a whole year. And when I was away, that's when it hurt him emotionally, and he was not happy with it, and his total concentration was on his children, because it was not just me. Also, my brothers were not. We're also on the same boat with me. So
everyone understand. Before you go any further, you're the eldest, but how many brothers are in the business? Two brothers in the business.
Yes.
Okay.
And my sisters as well, but they're part-time. They're not.
Okay, but every day.
But all the siblings are like very, you know, modern thinking and Western and all that. And my dad and my mom, who's not in the business, are still doing things traditionally.
Okay. What's your cufflinks here? Scratching on the table.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No worries. So, carry on that story then. So your dad's you walked away from the business because you're like, it's my way, Dad, or your way. Your way's great, my way's great.
I didn't like walk away, but I said like, okay, if you're doing it your way, I don't want to be.
I'll step out.
I don't want to be
conflict.
I don't want to be a conflict because then you'll slow down. So you do it your way, or let me do it my way, and that I think he somebody who's been so successful financially, finances don't matter to him at this age, especially. He's 58 years old now. He's more emotional. He wants family. He wants to be close to his kids and to his wife and to the whole family. So business is secondary. While for myself and my brothers, we think business is very important. We put business in office is business, and then outside office is family. But for my dad, it was more in emotional, right? So he didn't take it very well, and that took his attention away from business. So that allowed it for the office and the company being run by the management. But even if it's a perfect management with less direction, they will have difficulties. They would have challenges. So that was the complete, like, how do I say it? That's putting it very much from the heart. I mean, that's how it was. That's how it happened. And that I came back and I felt that there was a big need. And my dad actually told me, okay, let's do it your way. And
he stepped back.
He stepped back. Yes.
He said, right.
Yeah.
Farhad, get on with it.
Yes. So he's there as my encyclopedia to everything.
Yeah.
Right. So he's there full time. He's helping, but he's not. He doesn't make the final call. So he's.
Hold on. Is this the first time this has happened in business with your dad? Where
yes.
Your dad's actually said, Farhad, it's on you now. Your chance.
Yeah. It's the first time.
That must be kind of like really liberating.
Yeah, it happened 6 months ago. So it happened in October. And
scary as well.
I was very nervous, but he was there to support, and it was the first time. And then he noticed how good actually was for him, and how good it was for everybody else. Because, this is the nature. I mean, it's you have to do things with experience. You cannot be we can't read this on a textbook. So. He felt that, okay, my sons, my children have to make decisions, whether they get it right or wrong, doesn't matter. What matters is that they will learn from it. So if they made a good decision, they'll keep on doing those, and if they take a wrong decision, then they'll stop doing it. So myself and my brothers, we've been taking a lot of decisions, and he doesn't intrude on it. We would go to him and for advice, and although he sits just next to me in our office on the same floor, so he's a big help. But it's for the first time where he does his business different, and he's more laid back now, chilled, and but the stress is on us.
Okay, so
it's a big change.
Did with those two different approaches to business, and your dad being, I suppose, not focused on the money, but gung-ho about building the business. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy's got a track record of success, so it's not like it's some crazy man going out there trying to build a business. But did the business grow quicker than it should have done?
It did grow very fast. But that's how it was in every business that he got into. It grows very fast. Like Azizi Bank would have not become the largest bank in Afghanistan if he had pushed it that way. So his businesses, they always grow very fast. And he puts his full attention. I think focus and attention to any activity brings great success. And he has that skill where he's very determined about something, and he makes up his mind. He says, okay, we got to go that direction, and he's very good with that. But what happens along the way is that he exhausts himself. He exhausts everybody else around him, and it could become very overwhelming. At times where there is so much to do and so much work. However, if one wants to be successful, they have to be ready for the challenges and all that. So our business grew, and it grew too fast, but sometimes too much, maybe not so good. So we right now have,
that's natural though.
We have natural. It's natural. We have 70 buildings under construction at this stage.
70,
70, and 120 more on its way. So
hold on a minute. No, we've got, because the audience are going to sit here and go, "What the heck?" So, as a business here in the UAE, you have 70 apartment buildings
Yes.
being built currently,
Exactly.
and another 120
In the pipeline.
in the pipeline. Over how many years? Over the next 5 years, 10
Well,
years?
that's in our hand. It would depend on demand, right? So we could stretch it to longer or shorter, but we have the land. You know, we
Okay.
acquired.
So
a lot.
120 over the next, let's say 10, 12 years,
It's-
that kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah, it could be shortened as well. I mean, Dubai is a very dynamic city. I mean, for us, for my dad, for ourselves, it's been like we call it the Dubai dream, the American dream sort
It's
of
the
thing.
modern. I describe Dubai as the modern day gold rush.
Yes.
When you learn about the history of the United States, when they found gold and they went across the land and they went and sailed around the seas to get across to San Francisco so they could come in and then they could start digging for gold. That to me is
Exactly.
this opportunity that it's available to everyone. And Dubai to me is like that.
That's the thing. I mean, in Dubai is where the family was raised. They went to school, but also his business flourished. Our business went from strength to strength. Even though the businesses were overseas, the head office was always here. So the finances were here, the management was here, the bank accounts were here. My dad's home was here. Even if his business was in Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, he even had
Base camp was here.
The head office was here in Dubai. So for him, this place is home, and he wants to do something here, big, something that could be, that would last. You know, it's
Did Azizi, with that amount of growth that quickly, do wrong by the customer? Did they do wrong by the real estate brokers who are selling the product?
No, so the thing we shouldn't have done, and we did, is we started doing everything in house. Okay, so what's in house? Do the sales, do the marketing, do the construction, have your design team, have your supervision team, do your mortgages, do your FM, property maintenance, do your everything. And that's not the way things are done. Businesses today are very lean and agile, so that they can adjust to things. So what we did is we grew internally to be able to do everything. Now, instead of doing 2 good things perfectly fine, we can't be doing 10 things in a very mediocre way. So that's the thing that wasn't helpful, because thousands of people have bought homes, and if your attention is not for customer service, you're busy building a real estate business and like brokerage business, you're busy with property maintenance, you're busy with mortgages, then you're going to lose attention from that. So one of the things I've been changing in the last 6 months is we're going through a complete restructuring, becoming very construction driven and customer centric, and outsourcing everything else. Why do it while others could do it better than me? So give it to them, let them do it, and let them benefit from it. So instead of having a big army of sales team, we reduced it. Instead of having 30 different offices, now we're down to like 15 offices. Why have so much? So there was a lot of, it's like I was doing a study on multitasking, which is, they say it's not a good thing. So we were sort of
to study it or do it.
No, not to do it, right? So
yeah, I get it.
So we were sort of like multitasking, multi-building at every angle. Like we get into hotel business, get into this business, get into that, and that was not good. That was not good, because I saw when I was in Germany, I saw something so different. I saw companies that were several times bigger than some of the developers here, and they would have only 50 staff. And I would go to their office. I would say, I want to buy an apartment. They'd be like, we don't sell apartments, but we build them. We're the developer. However, you could go to this or that brokerage firm and buy from them. I'm like, but I'm a direct client. I could buy here. I could save the commissions or this and that. But we don't do that. We're just the developers. So what do? We just find good plots, study them, give them to the design team, which is not ours, give it to the marketing team, which is not ours, give them to the sales team, which is not ours. So like the whole business is outsourced, but the developer owns the project. They're the client. And I saw huge developers. I saw this in England as well. Large companies, developers, they're very lean. They don't have thousands and thousands. and thousands of staff, and offices and cars and transport, and
They don't have.
That's
It's all subcontractors.
It's
doing the work,
subcontracted, and it's a very digital world today. A lot of things are technology has been used to make things very efficient. So I saw something like that in Germany. I want to replicate.
Do you think that you've been doing it for 6 months? Do you think that?
I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. I've been involved, but last 6 months things have been different. Yes.
Okay. Do you think? Because Azizi is a really prominent developer, okay? You're one of the biggest developers here, and people know you, okay, because you're a big developer here. And there's sentiment and there's gossip and there's opinions, and people would rather talk about bad stuff than good stuff 9 times out of 10. Do you think that your reputation is harmed and being fixed, or do you think your reputation is harmed and you'll struggle to fix it anytime soon?
Oh no, it's the thing is, what I find very important are numbers, statistics. The math is what counts. So if there is a reputational problem, and I stay focused on my work, and I'm getting the numbers, as into doing the construction, delivering the homes, having more happier customers, right? So like when I say numbers, I do surveys all the time. I'm calling the customers. I'm like, okay, what do you think? What are you not happy with? What can we do for you better? I speak to the contractors. I speak to the real estate companies that sell our properties, do a lot of internal surveys with our staff. So when those numbers are done every month, then I compare them. So every month has been getting better and better and better, especially in the last 2-3 months it's been going the right direction. But doing anything in this size of business takes time. It's not an overnight fix to things. And
it's like turning an oil tanker, isn't it? It's not a dinghy, it's a big ship.
So one of the things we did is I personally was in favor of this, but it's not necessarily good it's not going to make so many people happy. Like I had to lay off a lot of I had to shut down some departments that we didn't need, like really didn't need. There was no need for that business, right? So those employees wouldn't be happy, and when they move somewhere else, they're not going to be saying, yeah, it was very pleasant to work, and they let me. They would say it was a bad place, I left. So they, of course, I have all the respect for them, so that's fine. But this is human nature. I would probably do the exact same. So that's sort of that's a word of mouth that you cannot control, and one of the things I personally believe a lot is in to be very fair and just. So if I was fair with that person, I told them, okay, look, you have a department of 20. We don't really need this. We could be doing development business instead of getting busy with the hotel management, which we're not the expertise with. So I'm going to shut down this.
Yeah,
they're not going to be the happiest. But if I was very transparent and if I could tell them what's the reason and all that, we did our part. So that was one of the dents, and that was reducing 700 to 800 employees, having that big of a layoff. It's a big number, although we had employed thousands, and we still have thousands. But that's a significant number for a city the size of Dubai. The word goes out that okay.
Well, they don't say that restructuring is being done for the benefit of the business.
Yeah, so
again, it's the same thing. You focus on the numbers. The marketplace out there focuses. What's happening at Azizi? They're getting rid of 700 people or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we had to restructure for the benefit of the business. There will be a time where I could rehire everybody, but when I have the time and the capacity to put the focus, if I cannot put focus and just open offices and tell them, okay, I'll come back in a few days and we'll sit and discuss, and I don't have the time to go in 2 months, and they're just sitting there doing nothing, then we're wasting their time and energy and wasting the company's resources as well. So that was the situation. That's why we had 30 offices, and the management was too busy opening more, expanding the business, but with really no clear. They didn't have time basically. So that's the side effect of expanding too fast.
Yeah. Okay, another subject I want to talk to you about before I end with you today. First of all, do you regard yourself? Your dad is clearly an entrepreneur. Do you regard yourself as an entrepreneur?
Well, one of the things I was always a bit. I was a bit I felt I was missing something in this whole business. I've always worked with my dad, and I moved from one position to another with my own efforts. But I always felt that it's because my dad's business, everybody's very nice and kind to me, and and I was, because I'm the owner's son, so what the heck, it's not about my education or experience or this and that. So one of the things that I felt I was always lacking is turning that $1 to $2 myself personally. So because I said, okay, it's the business, I'm playing an important role, and the business is making income. So what I did is I experimented. I said, I have to take this 500,000 euro, for example, turn it to €1 million, and I want to see if I could do this with zero help myself personally, and whether it would work out or not. And I did that experiment back in 2014 and I still do it in Germany. So I took, for example, an old broken house for 500, 600,000 euros, did some financing, put some of my own money, demolished it, renovated it, resold it, did the whole business plan for it, and I made good profit on that. Where that €1 turned into a €2. So that was the first time I experienced that. Okay, with zero help from any.
How did it feel?
It felt so different. I felt so different. I felt so. I felt so empowered. I suddenly felt that okay, and I learned something from it. What I learned is. It was a big lesson because when I was doing this, I was enjoying it. I was not stressed. I was not feeling any fear of losing it. I was not having this fear that I have to stress out. I had 2 employees only help me with this, like 2 staff, and I have my setup in Frankfurt. So what happened is that we worked very closely, and I took that experience and brought it back. I told my dad, I said, okay, we have to do things different. I said, I feel that there is too much stress in our work environment for no reason. We have to change things. So said directly with HR, I said, okay, you have to do employee, engagement activities and this and that. I said the biggest reason I had that success where things moved from point A to point B for me in Germany was because we all enjoyed working together as a team, and we were so happy, whether it was with the contractor or the salespeople. It was a very enjoyable environment. So I took that first-hand experience, and I've been doing it here in our office, where I totally 100% believe that if it's any company, family, a government, a country, anything, and people are enjoying their time and they're having a good time, they will be successful. And whatever they're doing, they will be successful. But if it's the opposite, if it's a depressing environment, and there's a movie I recommend to everybody to watch.
What's it called?
It's called Monster Inc. It's
Monsters Inc. The kids movie.
It's a kids movie.
Yeah.
So I was watching the kids movie. I have 2 kids, right, with my daughter, and this movie basically the Monsters Inc. is a company, and the monsters are supposed to go and scare the kids at night, and then all this energy is given to the company, and they're into energy business.
Yeah. And
then there's one monster that doesn't look scary or cannot act scary and cannot do all the screams and all that. So when he does his show, the kid laughs at him, and when the kid laughs, the energy company makes much more energy out of that laugh instead of a scream, because the scream was their source of energy.
Yeah.
Now is the laugh. So that movie, I was like, I sent out an email within our company. I said, everybody has to go watch Monster Inc. because that's what I want us to move. I want us to function where we laugh, we enjoy. Things will be so much different, and in this company, and we cannot be having an environment of the scream and the tough and like being fear. That's not going to work. So things have to change, and that's something. It's not going to happen overnight again, because it's changing the culture. Culture change takes time, but it's been changing, and I see good results from it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Monster Inc.
Okay, last question. At my core of who I am as a human being, I would regard myself as a salesperson. Although I've built businesses and had my success, and I don't come from anything apart from humble beginnings as well, I deep down regard myself as a salesperson. How do you see salespeople in business, and what level of importance do you put on them?
I I had a lot of experience with working with sales people, and I've not been personally involved in hardcore sales, but I've seen it in a lot of different countries, not just here in UAE. And I think the best salesperson is the person that would sit across me and I could trust them, and they wouldn't take me for a ride, and they could gain my trust. I would go back to them again and again and again. I've been to the good salesmen in America, the car dealers, right? So you would approach some of them and you could really trust them. And the reason they're good salespeople is because some of them are really good, genuine people. They tell you this car is not good, don't buy it. Or I think some of the best salespeople I've seen that were in America, whether they're into real estate or into car business or into anything, and the ones that were too smart or being too pushy on things, it didn't work. You have to give the client their space to think, their time. You have to respect them. Let them go back. Let them, encourage them to go and compare. That's when they trust you, and when they trust you, then doors open for that salesperson. That's how I have seen it as a client, and that's how I have seen people in our offices succeed with selling properties. They're the ones that are the most genuine. And they're the most successful. The ones that are all like chic and then like they're so like loaded with ideas and like they want to do this, they want to do that. Their numbers are not necessarily the best. So that's how I see it.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate your point there. Okay, and one last thing. Can we go out and have a look at some of your developments one day?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. One of them is here on the Palm. We can go to all the sites. There's a big development happening in Maidan. There's from all the way from Jabalali to Healthcare City, in various parts of the city. We're scattered throughout Dubai. We're looking into getting into Abu Dhabi. We already have a plot in Najman. So in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, there's a lot of construction happening at the moment, and I'll be happy to give you a tour.
Good, excellent stuff. Farhad, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.